You're open and receptive to positive changes in your subconscious mind.
Business, in my opinion, is the enemy. I just realized that it was the root.
You allow your subconscious mind to absorb these
And
affirmations.
everything that I had was in comparison to other people with for no reason.
You are manifesting your desires with the power of your subconscious mind. You release all blocks and barriers from your subconscious mind.
I think the biggest thing that changes is time.
For your highest good.
And I think the single greatest differentiator between the poor and the middle class and rich and the truly wealthy is how you see time. And if you think about money as simply a condensed unit of time, right, that's all money is. Like you can trade time for money, so like it is the almost equivalent units. And the people who know how to master the time the most mean know how to master the money. To the original question of like, how do wealthy people become wealthy? Is because they master the time. I think it's fear mostly. I know that's not a skill, but I think it's a character trait. And so people are afraid of not getting validated, or they're afraid of judgment that they perceive from other people that exist or don't exist in their lives. And so for whatever reason, they have this second voice that criticizes everything they do that in reality isn't even there, but it's constantly present. It's like the antithesis of whatever the God figure is, but just the negative voice. And so I think that's the thing that stops most people from doing the stuff they know they need to do. Because if you think about like, whether it's I want to get in shape, or I want to have a better marriage, or I want to make more money, most people on some level, at a basic level, they know what to do. And my proof point of like even making money, right? Most of us have had a bill that came up that was unexpected, a tax bill, a car breaks down, a health thing, whatever it is, and we find a way. And so when it's for someone else, people are use the actual resourcefulness that they have to make the money, but for whatever reason they won't use that same resourcefulness to make it themselves. And so I think that most people know if they want to work out, to get in shape, to lose weight, whatever, they know they need fewer donuts and more in general. But they don't, right? Because they're afraid of getting started, or they don't have the discipline to keep going, which they can't make the short-term sacrifice for the long-term achievement. So big picture, it's like there's usually some fear that's preventing from doing it, and then how it looks from a behavioral standpoint is they do not make the short-term sacrifice of discomfort for the long-term, independent of whatever path they're talking about. You've got this whole space, right? You look at like, if you're like, I want to be a business influencer, right? It's like, you look at the guys who are at the top of the business game, and virtually have killed it in business, and most of them, even Gary, had gone to 60 million a year before he made his first content. And so I think the issue is that people look at that and say, I should make content like them, when you don't have, you can't answer the underlying question of why should I listen, which is always in the back of every audience's mind, in my opinion. At least that's what I think. Like when someone's like a relationship expert, I find out they've been divorced 3 times, maybe not, right? I mean, and as terrible as it is, they might be giving amazing advice, but it doesn't pass the first filter, which is, if I'm going to take military strategy from someone, I'd rather have a general that has a winning record. Napoleon said, I'd rather have lucky generals. So even if he had 2 that were even, he'd rather have the lucky one. And so to the same degree, I think people use that filter because it actually takes less effort to learn from someone that's trust. And so it's like, if you've got the basement teacher that's telling you to dollar cost average in the S&P, and you've got Warren Buffett who's telling people to dollar cost average in the S&P, they don't want to listen to the teacher, even if the teacher is better objectively from a trust standpoint, because they just don't know if they can trust them. So you have to have filter from hearing thing, try trusting him. With Warren, you can just plug into whatever he's saying and just take it as truth, which takes less effort. And I think a lot of people will get much bigger, better audiences and actually make more money from the content they're making because everyone else is like,
I think it's a frame shift that at least has been very valuable for me to understand, which is that whatever I want, there is a cost to getting it. And so the first time I heard this was actually at somebody who was using it to close an event. And they were saying, and they wrote $1 million on the board, and they asked somebody in the audience how much they make. And I think they answered $50,000. And he said, and they put $50,000 for $8 million bucks, and they drew a line, and they put $950,000. He said, it is costing you $950,000 every year to not know how to make $1 million. And that, like, he didn't call it ignorance tax. I've called it that since then. But like, you can put whatever number you want. It costs me $1 billion a year not to know how to make $1 billion a year in income, right? That idea for me has been fundamental to like, I will pay for whatever shortcut possible. There is value in someone helping you get somewhere faster, and making sure that that person has helped people like you get to where you want to go is a great first litmus test to look for that.
The big breakthrough that I had for me was when I stopped focusing on, and this is going to sound backwards, but when I started my gyms, I was all about building the business. And when I built the biggest companies that I've had and now recently sold down the whole portfolio, it was about how do we make the most money. And I know that sounds completely backwards, but the only way that you can make the most money is to provide an exceptional valued service and charge a ton of money for it. And because I optimized around making money, I started going for low capital expense businesses because I had lost everything after that 5-year stint. And so I was like, never again am I going to reinvest reinvest every dollar from the business back into the business because I've lost it before. So when I started the next business and every business I've had thereafter, like we take dividends. And the thing is, and this was a fallacy I had, is people always talk about like reinvesting in their business, but I realized that just meant they weren't making profit. And so the vast majority of businesses, even the software world is somewhat shifting in this, but they want to see profit. And then even better is if you have net free cash flow, which is just a fancy word for the amount of money that you can take out every month after making necessary investments in the business. And so I wanted to have businesses that pumped cash flow because I lost it all. If I were just to use history as a guide, business is only gotten easier to get into. It's gotten more competitive and easier to get into. And so I think that what happens is just the arena gets bigger. So you got more gladiators, so it's more competitive, but more people can walk. And so I think, but for the world in general, the more people you have fighting to make amazing products and services, the better it is for society. But the downstream effect of that is that in a capitalist system, it isn't going to take off for most, for many, not all, but for many businesses. And just by the nature of it, that does create social disarray. And it's just, but the thing is like, it's still the best system you have. You don't have a system. Because the other systems remove incentive. Even the survivorship bias, like every MLM in the world exists off the fact that there's that one guy who makes $500,000 a month selling shake mix, and the other 5 million shake mix producers are like, someday that'll be me. And it's just survivorship bias, right? But that's why the whole capitalist machine works. So I think they're like figuring out some sort of a creative way.
If somebody is starting from scratch, what are the traits, skill sets that they should be cultivating in order to up the odds of their success?
They should focus on one thing in general, rather than lots of different things that you're not sure about. Because if you're starting out, everything looks like an opportunity. So the correct answer is all of them are opportunities, but all of them won't work unless you pick one. Right? So you have to say no to all the other mistresses. So boom, pick one. And then from there, I would say 6 figures is sell something to someone. That's it. And if you want more detail, sell something to someone. So it's one avatar, one product, one channel. So you don't have to figure out how do I create 20 pieces of content across it. It's like just pick one channel, one media source, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, Twitter. Consistently start going on that, whether that's cold outbound, whether that's content, whether it's running paid ads, whether it's affiliates, word of mouth, whatever it is, and start reaching out to people there to start selling your stuff. So I use something that I call the Rule of 100, which is 100 primary actions, whether it's 100 minutes of content creation per day, 100 reach outs per day, $100 ad spend per day. Like you have to pick one of them, but 100 per day, you do that for 100 days, and I promise you'll be making 6 figures. The vast majority of people who are pitching all the time are natural promoters, not product. Naval had this quote that I really liked. He said, "You're only selling because you don't know how to market, and you only market because you don't know how to market." Because like the best products market and sell themselves. Now, obviously, if you're Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, it's like you build amazing products, and then you back them with unbelievable marketing, and then you have an army of salespeople that are selling for you. So it's like then you have them all, what's really our company. But like just being exceptional at any of those will make you money, but you get the multiplicative, compounding effect if you're good at 2 or 3.
Control freak is a word people with low standards use to describe people with high standards. You're not a control freak. You just want it done right the first time. You're not anxious. You care. Do not expect mediocre people to support world-class goals. Here's how to get older without getting better. Keep relearning the same lesson. If you keep making the same mistake over and over, the mistake isn't the problem. You are. Don't be so worried about people who imitate your work. They only know the what, but not the why. If you stopped being creative, so would they. A photocopier isn't an artist, even if it would recreate the artist. Reminder that if you want to be exceptional, you're going to be different from everyone else. That's what makes you exceptional. You can't fit in and also be exceptional. Both have discomfort. When you fit in, you have internal conflict because you're not being 100% you. When you're exceptional, you have external conflict because everyone sees you as different. Pick one. When your friends start to say, you've changed, remember it's because they don't know how to say, you've grown. I'm astounded by how many people want to be spectacular in life but also want to be normal. By being normal, you are, by definition, aiming for average. Normal people get normal results. Exceptional people get exceptional results. You literally can't do what everyone else does, but expect to not get what everyone else has got. By doing what everyone else does, guaranteed average results. People are attracted to authenticity, but it's hard to define. Here's my best example. True alignment of what you think, what you say, and what you do. The hardest part is realizing that our thoughts are fucked, and that we have to fix them instead of faking the negative. America was built on the backs of men who smoked cigarettes, drove without seatbelts, and had bacon for breakfast. If you miss your biohacking routine this morning, you're going to be okay. There's a time for leverage, but there's also a time for violence, which is just brute force. People get really obsessed with optimal, which is getting the most bang for your buck. But there's also maximizing, which is just getting the most bucks. You lose more life trying to optimize everything than just living it. The stress of trying to be perfect is killing you more quickly than you're impressed. The only insults that hurt are the ones we believe. Next time someone insults you, remember, they're going to die. Everyone will forget about them. And if no one will remember them, then you might as well forget about them now. They are irrelevant. Your dream, your actions, your ambitions. You cannot wish for a strong character in an easy life. Each is the price of the other. What if what you're going through isn't hard? What if you're just sensitive? You're going to lose sleep. You'll doubt whether it'll work. You'll stress to make ends meet. You won't finish your to-do list. You'll wonder whether you made the right call and have no way to know for years. This is what hard feels like, and that's okay. Everything worth doing is hard. The more worth doing it is, the harder it is. The greater the payoff, the greater the hardship. If it's hard, good. It means no one else will do it. Or for you. Until you win, effort always goes unnoticed. Get used to it. No one roots for you until everyone roots for you. That's just how it works. People want to find their passion, but you don't find it, you create it. And you create it by getting good at something. And to get good at stuff, you start by doing something you suck at. Then you get good. Then you like it. Then people ask how you found your passion. Answer by starting when you suck at it. Not to piss off the positive polys in the room, but if you haven't gotten what you want, then you're not worthy of it. Period. And that's okay. Now you can admit that you suck and improve. Better to know you're bad for a season than pretend you're good for a lifetime. You're not making as much money as you want because you're not as good as you think you are. You're not struggling from imposter syndrome. You're a student pretending to be a teacher. No students say they feel like frauds for trying to learn. You're a fraud when you get up to teach the class. You've never done it. If you can be in a bad mood for no reason, you might as well be in a good mood for no reason. If it's not going to change your life, it shouldn't change your mood. If the cost is peace of mind, don't buy it. It's normal to not know what you're doing. If you did, it wouldn't be called growth. High-five your fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and carry on. Do you get tired, stressed, sad, hungry, frustrated, and focused? Do you feel misunderstood? Great. You're human. You don't need medication.
You can flip the fact that you have nothing going for you with you have nothing to lose. And that means that you can take lots of risks very quickly and end up in the exact same position you are, which is nothing. And so if you eliminate downside, it should decrease your action pressure, meaning you should be able to do more things faster rather than do fewer things because you don't have a great life or things going for you. And so I think if people flip that, a lot more people would take action because they actually realize the advantage of their position. They have nothing objectively to lose. And so everything that they feel like they have to lose is purely made up in their mind. The stories they tell themselves about what other people are going to think about them. Because people say it's society, it's other people. It's like it's usually one or two voices. And if you can get really specific about whose voice it is, then you can name it. And then like I think I'm a big believer in like shame only exists in the shadows. Which is like once you put it in the light, you look at it and you're like, my mom, that was really it. Like when I really think about it, it's because it's not even just my mom, it's my mom in this circumstance. When I come back home for Thanksgiving, I just am so afraid of the comment that she's going to make. It's like, well, what if we confront that? Okay, your mom, you sit down at Thanksgiving dinner and you haven't made money yet and you quit your job. Now what? Is that better than you spending the next 60 years hating her or resenting her for the fact that she owns it?
If you think about success as a reflection of my hard work, smart decisions, and powerful presence, and I continue to grow stronger, sharper, and more successful every day.
Like when you're digging the building, you put the hole and you pour the concrete in. The base of the entire thing is who is empowered, who is sourced. Because if it's anything but you in that base layer, all of the other things on top of them will topple down. It's a foundation of sand. You can't build on top of blaming other people. There's nothing that stands on it. At the very beginning, you have to accept that, which is the first two words, my fault, my responsibility, all me, I am source. And then once you can accept that one thing, and what's crazy is that one foundation is where 90% of people literally aren't. They're not there. They can't do it. The reason my girlfriend left me is because of this, not me. The reason I lost my job is because my employer was a dick, my boss sucked, whatever, the economy. But it never serves you. Give me one instance, one example. This is to anyone who's listening to this. One example of when you blamed something else and it made you better. One. You can't find it because it's fundamentally not true. First, it's your fault. Second, you spend less than you make. Third, take all of the excess and spend it on making it work. Take the money you make, live on nothing. The hard part is to swallow and pride in the fact that in the short term, everyone's going to be right when you say that you're going to do nothing. And that's the tough part. That's the glass that you have to swallow. And there's just no other way. The higher up in business you get, the more attractive the opportunities that you have to learn to say no to. That's why having some of the soft stuff of this is the vision, this is what we're trying to do, and there's 100 other things I could do, but each of the cost of those things is the one thing that matters most. If we're looking at opportunities, that's why risk-adjusted return is one of the things that a lot of investors look at, which is is there a way that I can appropriately adjust this risk to normalize different opportunities? And I think that single skill set is one of, if not the most important skill sets as an entrepreneur, because fundamentally it's betting. I think that's what we're doing. We're making bets. Every day we bet with our time, we bet with our money, with the limited constraints we have or limited resources we have against unlimited opportunities. When we're organizing opportunities that we're going to pursue with a business, we look at what are the ones that we have the absolute highest likelihood of success, that we need no new skills and no new effort. If we can do that, or the least amount of new effort and no new skills, that would be the first thing we're going to do. And then once we take out all the ones that take basically no effort and no extra skills, we're okay, which ones take more effort and still no skills? And then once we do that, then we're okay, now we can start learning a new skill, and of the different skills that we can learn, which of these is going to give us the highest leverage, as in most output for the least amount of input. And that's pretty much how we tick down which of these opportunities we're going to pursue, because those have the lowest likelihood of not happening. I think that the investor frame is simply people who have been scored and quantified on their ability to make decisions. And so I think that we can learn a ton from how investors make decisions overall. It's why Ray Dalio's book, Principles, became a bestseller, even though 99.9% of people who read the book aren't even investors, or definitely not investors at his level. But the principles of good decision making are just quantified, and we have a scoreboard for these guys being excellent decision makers, whereas most other people, you don't have a real scoreboard, so we can't tell how valid is their advice. And I think that's what makes taking advice from really world-class investors who've been doing it for decades as a great source of information, because we can validate that they have a stack of undeniable proof that they are who they say they are. If you can't define the inputs and outputs that are going to get you what you want, then there's no way to start, right? Because you don't know what you're supposed to do. So you have to define it down to the most basic first actions. It's if I want to start creating content, that means I have to post something. If it means I have to start doing cold, I always think in terms of business because that's where I'm in, but I'm either doing a cold reach out, I'm doing a cold call, cold email, cold DM, whatever that is. I have to make a piece of content, I have to post it, I have to make a podcast, I have to make a YouTube video, I have to make a short, whatever that is, make a blog post. Now, once you know what that input output is, the next one is why aren't you doing it, right? And so I think a lot of people are looking for something that is very hard to find. And then they attribute their lack of success or lack of action because they don't have passion or motivation, right? And I was the same way. And then I got my job, so out of college, and I would read all the self-help books. I read, every night, that's all I did. I just read all these self-help books, and I found one of them that said, there are people who are entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. And I remember hearing that word entrepreneur. But what if they're right? I am an entrepreneur. I'm not an entrepreneur. I want to be one, and I'm not. And from that point, it took me 6 months to quit my job to actually decide to do the entrepreneurial thing. And the thing there are many things that contributed to me being able to leave. And I think a lot of it's not like people are looking for one thing. It might be a big bag of whys, a lot of them, right, that add up together to be above your action threshold. And I think in the early days, people are looking for the big carrot. They want the big vision. They want the big passion, but they don't have it. But I'll give you the first rule of entrepreneurship that I've learned, which is use what you have. And a lot more people have pain. A lot more people have anger. A lot more people have shame. And if you can use that as your gas in the beginning, you'll eventually get to a point where you can get out of that loop and then find something that you are really passionate about. But if you can't tie your shoes, you can't lift the weight, you can't send the DM, you have to start with whatever you have. And so for me, it was hatred of my current existence. I hated being an entrepreneur. I hated being a wannabe. I hated being one of those people who like talked about all the things that really didn't do anything. I hated living the life that my dad wanted me to live. I was his bitch. That's what it was. I was his bitch. I was living his dreams out, not mine. And that was, led to that other tweet, which was sometimes your parents' dreams have to die in order for yours to live. To get to the person who's like, how do I find my thing? I'm a big fan of being directionally correct rather than absolutely correct. And so I think what happens is most people are trying to find the perfect answer when they have no perspective from which to make a judgment. They're trying to find the perfect thing to do and they haven't done anything. So how will you have perspective to make a judgment? Like, if you try a lot of things in the beginning, which you have to know what your inputs, outputs are, decrease your action threshold enough with either a cheese or a cat, whatever you need. Most people have more cats than they have cheese in the beginning. So use the cat to start running towards something. And the thing is the rat is so simple. It's like there's cheese here. But what you really just need to know is that there's cheese out there. And there's a cat behind me for sure. And so if I just go anywhere away from the cat, I will have a higher likelihood of getting closer to the cheese. Not that I will find it, but I will get closer to it.
A lot of people watch YouTube, the internet, for complex money-making skills and haven't even mastered Sharpen. And so it's like they want to go straight to calculus, but they don't know how to do simple addition. The thing is that like simple addition is foundational to that, and none of the other stuff will matter unless you can do the basics. But the basics doesn't make them less important. Usually they're the foundation of building, which make them arguably more important. They just are simpler to understand, but not simpler to do. And I think that's the big disconnect a lot of people have, is that they think because they understand something conceptually, that they feel like they have already mastered the skill, which are two very different things. Like there's I think it's an old Zig Ziglar saying, so you need to be ready to be rich. And I mean, it's simple, but this is what he was getting, is that you can say, you know what, you are, your dad kicked the shit out of you your whole life, and you have the confidence to you're a piece of shit every day. You're right. But in order to be rich, you need to let that go. Because every day you say that I'm not successful because of this, it means because this now owns you. And so one of the things that happens when you're broke is that you bet on stuff and it doesn't work. You feel like they're back in zero, but you're not back in zero. You're at where you were, plus 1 experience, plus 2 experiences, plus 3 experiences, plus 4 experiences. But when you have plus 18 experiences, all of a sudden, you level up. You get experience points. There's a reason video games called experience points. So you didn't trade it for nothing, you got experience points. And with enough experience points, you get to the next level. So the well-placed people I know only think about what can I learn, what can this skill do. And so they will always take any money they can to buy new skills. And in the beginning, you have to buy all the skills yourself. Once you have enough skills, you can generate an excess of income, you can start buying other people's skills. Everything comes down to fun. And so at some point, you're 10 years into your career, you kind of have your skills, but you can buy someone else's 10 years of skills by just paying them to do something too. So you have to learn a lot. And so you do need to get good at stuff, and then eventually you generalize it. That's pretty much what you have. A lot of people who want to make money don't understand how money is made. And so it's made by getting someone else, and they have to give it to you voluntarily. And so you can build this, then you have to give something to someone else first. And then by doing that, you give money in exchange, which is why we have voluntary exchange between parties. And both parties,
You can sell stuff at a margin, and either you're selling stuff to someone else manufacturing and creating, and if you're starting out, you probably will sell something. And I do think, I'm saying this right now, I do love the concept that the first thing you sell is not the last thing. And so learning to sell, the best way to sell is stuff. And that's why referral programs, the BATNA programs, affiliate programs, different types of businesses, almost every business that you run has an affiliate program. It's great to be involved. I'm saying that we have, because I want you like, it's not about that. I want you to, if you can just, because then you only have to figure out what's cool. Like if I just sell something, I get paid. Cool. Now over time, you're like, man, I want to make more of that. Cool. You eat up more of those. So you can either sell stuff or you can sell skills. Sell outcomes. Learn something, get good at it, have evidence that you were a good thing, and then people ask you for help on that. Like level 1 is that you have to understand this call. Level 2 is that you have to use what you have, not what you wish you had, to get to where you want to go. And where you want to go isn't 100 steps forward, it's just the next step. And I think Tony Robbins says this, he says, change happens when pain staying the same, sorry, when the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same. And so if you're comfortable staying the same, the point is to make yourself more in pain, to get yourself to move. And so whatever you have to do to get yourself there, for me, the idea that a rule that I would want to do would be like something ambitious and successful. Like that, those ideas go. And so I never wanted to be denied entry to somewhere because I didn't have these things. Now, do I believe that people should be denied? But I also realize that people don't. And so I think you can balance those beliefs. Like I'd love things to be different, but I accept the fact that if everyone around you has a life you don't want, then don't listen to any of their advice. Like, and hopefully you're listening to this and watching. There's some element of my life that's awesome, cool. Maybe some element of what I can share. But you have to put blinders on because there is a period of time where you said this, but you're not going to be successful enough for the next tier of friends. But you're too different from the friends that you should have. And so that middle path. But the good thing about loneliness is you've got time. Right now, time is because you got to learn stuff. You got to get the skills so you can start trading it. Take the money and trade that. But in the beginning, you just have time. And that's what you have to spend. And so if you are broke, you are poor, and you wish to know more, the first thing to look at that everything that has to do with your life, and a lot of people reject it, and you're right. You're totally never successful. You're totally I believe. The next step is being willing to use what you have and think you should have, or what you wish, the circumstances, the connections, the money, whatever. The passion, purpose, you wish for all of that, but you don't have it, so you have to use what you have. Then, as soon as you start taking action, everyone around you will collapse and try to pull you down. And so the only way to protect yourself from rejection is to increase your own approval of self and decrease how much their matters. Which means you have to be proud of you for taking a step and actively look at their lives and think, do I want what they have? The answer is no. Do not listen to what they say. And when you do that, keep walking, keep taking steps. No matter how painful it is, never stop. If you do that, with business, in my opinion, ego is the enemy. I just realized that it was the root of all it. And like everything that I had was in comparison to other people for no reason. I think the biggest thing that changes is time limit. And I think the single greatest differentiator between the poor and the middle class and rich and the truly wealthy is how they see time. And if you think about money as simply a condensed unit of time, right? That's all money is. Like, you can trade time for money, so like they're almost equivalent units. And the people who know how to master their time the most mean know how to master their money. To the original question of like, how do wealthy people become wealthy is because they master their time.
I think it's fear, mostly. I know that's not a skill, but I think it's a character trait. And so people are afraid of not getting validated, or they're afraid of judgment that they perceive from other people that exist or don't exist in their lives. And so, for whatever reason, they have this second voice that criticizes everything they do that in reality isn't even there, but is constantly present. It's like the antithesis of whatever the God figure is, but just the negative voice. And so I think that's the thing that stops most people from doing the stuff they know they need to do. Because if you think about, like, whether it's want to get in shape, or I want to have a better marriage, or I want to make more money, most people on some level, at a basic level, they know what to do. And my proof point of, like, even making money, right? Most of us have had a bill that came up that was unexpected, a tax bill, a car breaks down, a health thing, whatever it is, and we find a way. And so when it's for someone else, people use the actual resourcefulness that they have to make the money, but for whatever reason, they won't use that same resourcefulness to make it for themselves. And so I think that most people know if they want to work out, to get in shape, to lose weight, whatever, they know they need to eat fewer donuts and move more in general. But they don't, right? Because they're afraid of getting started, or they don't have the discipline to keep going, which is they can't make the short-term sacrifice for the long-term achievement. So big picture, it's like there's usually some fear that's preventing them from doing it, and then how it looks from a behavioral standpoint is they do not make the short-term sacrifice of discomfort for the long-term achievement, independent of whatever path they're talking about. You've got this whole space, right? And you look at, like, if you're like, I want to be a business influencer, right? It's like when you look at the guys who are at the top of the business game, and virtually everyone have killed it in business, and most of them, even Gary, had gone to 60 million a year before he made his first content. And so I think the issue is that people look at that and say, I should make content like them, when you can't answer the underlying question, which is, why should I listen to you? Which is always in the back of every audience, in my opinion. At least that's what I think. Like, when someone's like a relationship expert, I find out they're divorced 3 times, maybe not, right? I mean, and as terrible as it is, they might be giving amazing advice, but it doesn't pass the first filter, which is, if I'm going to take military strategy from someone, I'd rather have a general that has a winning record. Napoleon said, I'd rather have lucky generals. So even if you had 2 that were even, you'd rather have the lucky one. And so to the same degree, I think people use that filter because it actually takes less effort to learn from someone that you trust. And so it's like, if you've got the basement teacher that's telling you to dollar cost average in the S&P, and you've got Warren Buffett who's telling people to dollar cost average in the S&P, they don't want to listen to the teacher, even if the teacher is better objectively from a content standpoint, because they just don't know if they should trust them. So you have to have 2 filters. I'm hearing anything, should I trust them? With Warren, you can just plug into whatever he's saying and just take it as truth, which takes less effort. And I think a lot of people would get much bigger, better audiences and actually make more money from the content that they're making, because everyone else is like,
I think it's a frame shift that at least has been very valuable for me to understand, which is that whatever I want, there is a cost to getting it. And so the first time I heard this was actually at somebody who was using it to close an event, and they were saying, and they wrote $1 million on a board, and they asked somebody in the audience how much they make, and I think they answered $50,000. And he said, and then he put $50,000 and $1 million, and he drew a line, and they put $950,000. He said, it is costing you $950,000 every year to not know how to make $1 million. And that, like, he didn't call it ignorance tax. I have called it that since then. But, like, you can put whatever number you want. It costs me $1 billion a year not to know how to make $1 billion a year in income, right? That idea for me has been fundamental to, like, I will pay for whatever shortcut possible. There is value in someone helping you get somewhere faster, and making sure that that person has helped people like you get to where you want to go is a great first litmus test to look through that.
The big breakthrough that I had for me was when I stopped focusing on, and this is going to sound backwards, but when I started my gyms, I was all about building the business. And when I built the biggest companies that I've had and now recently sold, now we have a portfolio, it was about how do we make the most money. And I know that sounds completely backwards, but the only way that you can make the most money is to provide an exceptional valued service and charge a ton of money for it. And because I optimized around making money, I started going for low capital expense businesses because I had lost everything after that 5-year stint. And so I was like, never again am I going to reinvest every dollar from the business back into the business because I've lost it before. So when I started the next business and every business I've had thereafter, like, we take dividends. And the thing is, and this was a fallacy I had, because people always talk about like reinvesting in their business, but I realized that just meant that they weren't making a profit. And so the vast majority of businesses, even the software world, is somewhat shifting in this, but they want to see profit. And then even better is if you have net free cash flow, which is just a fancy word for the amount of money that you can take out every month after making necessary investments in the business. And so I wanted to have businesses that pumped cash flow because I lost that before. If I were just to use history as a guide, business has only gotten easier to get into. It's gotten more competitive and easier to get into. And so I think that what happens is just the arena gets bigger. So you got more gladiators, so it's more competitive, but more people can walk. And so I think, but for the world in general, the more people you have fighting to make amazing products and services, the better it is for society. But the downstream effect of that is that in a capitalist system, it is a winner take all for most, for many, not all, but for many businesses. And just by the nature of it, that does create social disarray. And it's just, but the thing is like, it's still the best system that we have. We don't have a perfect system because the other systems remove incentive and humans have to buy incentive. Yeah. Even the survivorship bias, like every MLM in the world exists off the fact that there's that one guy who makes $500,000 a month selling shake mix, and the other 5 million shake mix producers are like, someday that'll be me.
Get there, yeah.
And it's just survivorship bias, right? But that's why the whole capitalist machine works. So I think there's like figuring out some sort of a creative way.
If somebody is starting from scratch, what are the traits, skill sets that they should be cultivating in order to up the odds of their success?
They should focus on one thing in general rather than lots of different things that you're not sure about. Because if you're starting out, everything looks like an opportunity. So the correct answer is all of them are opportunities, but all of them won't work unless you pick one, right? So you have to say no to all the other mistresses. So boom, you pick one. And then from there, I would say 6 figures is sell something to someone. That's it. And if you want more detail, sell something to someone. So it's one avatar, one product, one channel. So you don't have to figure out how do I create 20 pieces of content across it. It's like just pick one channel, one media source, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, Twitter. Consistently start going on that, whether that's cold outbound, whether that's content, whether it's running paid ads, whether it's affiliates, word of mouth, whatever it is, and start reaching out to people there to start selling your stuff. So I use something that I call the Rule 100, which is 100 primary actions, whether that's 100 minutes of content creation per day, 100 reach outs per day, $100 of ad spend per day. You have to pick one of them, but 100 per day. And you do that for 100 days, and I promise you'll be making 6 figures if you do that. The vast majority of people who are pitching all the time are natural promoters, not product people. Naval had this quote that I really like. He said, "You're only selling because you don't know how to market, and you only market because you don't know how to build a product." Because the best products market and sell themselves. Now, obviously, if you're Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, it's like you build amazing products, and then you back them with unbelievable marketing, and then you have an army of salespeople that are selling for you. So it's like then you have them all, and then you have a $1 trillion company.
Yeah.
But just being exceptional at any of those will make you money. But you get the multiplicative, compounding effect if you're good at 2 or 3 of them.